Hello, everyone. Hoping that you are seeing us and hearing us correctly. I want to welcome you. Just before we get started, maybe we'll wait a few seconds more for all of you who have registered to this session. So maybe we'll do a little testing of the chat section of our, because we are familiar from testing, so we are well know that we are doing a lot of tests. So firstly, I would like to ask you, where are you from, guys? And you can use the chat. I'm hoping that you are hearing us correctly. Anyone? Yeah, cool. UK. Amazing. So I think we can start it. Cool. As we know that we are live and everything is working, remember to click and subscribe our Executive Automats YouTube channel. I'm Rafał Najszewski, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Tips to smoke test your Dynamics 365 FO implementation. I'm very glad that you all have joined us today. Before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping things. You can ask the questions during the webinar whole session, and we'll go back to them during the question answer session. Also, we are recording this session, so we'll send a link to this recording to the email address that you have registered with. So remember to check all your email accounts. Okay, moving forward to today's webinar agenda. Firstly, we'll show you what is the smoke test. Afterwards, we'll move to the point which will address what type of the test we perform in D365 FO. Then we'll answer to the question how smoke tests are placed along the regression testing, and basically why we are needing them. Next, we'll jump into the lesson learned section with Executive Automats walkthrough. Last but not least, the live question answer session. Today with me is Bartosz Piech. So he's our product line manager for Executive Automats framework. So hello, Bart. And yeah, I have already clicked your section. So
Perfect.
stage
Thank
is
you
yours.
for the introduction. Yeah, glad to be here. We are up and flying once again for last few weeks, actually a few months. We are back on track with customers visits. So today we're gonna have a little bit more of the insights. We're gonna share with you some findings, and also we're gonna walk you through smoke test and finance and operations. Just to give you some concept, just to give you some understanding, because we all know that testing in ERP systems and testing in exactly finance and operations, old good Exapta, is not something which is quite natural. So let's start with a quick definition. What is actually the smoke testing? Actually, the smoke testing overall is to verify the basic, the core main functionality is to verify the major functionalities from the system to see the stability. You can basically perform this any moment of the life cycle, if it is before go live, after go live, and this is something which is quite natural. Rafa, we can jump into another page. It is quite natural, and if you're going to think about how you are placing the smoke test, or what are actually the type of the tests in finance and operations, you can define a lot of them. You can simply define tens or practically hundreds of different types of the tests, and tell that you are running this on finance and operations to gain some values. But I can tell you honestly that more we see customers on sites, on the sessions, on the lessons learned, on the verification of the current testing or findings, we see a significant trend that we are making this scary. That's why we see here Monster Incorporation from Pixar. We're trying to make things scary to show sometimes to the stakeholders that we do a lot of tests, that we verify the system from the beginning to the end, to the edge. And actually, we don't believe that this is a significant sense. If even if you're going to use those two ideas or two definitions that you are doing the regression testing and some smoke testing, of course, there are some tens of different type of the tests. So it has to be definitely aligned with you. It has to be aligned with what you want to do. But there is no need to sort of make a significant methodology around the test. It is good to simply start doing the test. It is good to make them understanding what you need or what value you can get from the actual testing. So yeah, we've got quite a bit of different approaches on testing. We can show for you. You can actually browse our different webinars where you can see our methodology for testing, our approach how to combine test automation with DevOps, our approach how to apply test automation for implementation process. And this is something we also do as workshops for our customers to understand the major concept of testing in Dynamics, how to place it against the high pace of one version. Today we're going to focus on smoke test, what kind of value it gives from developer's perspective, from test manager perspective, and consultant perspective. So a little bit more in a second. When it comes to another slide, let's note then. We would like to show you this kind of idea where you've got two types of testing in parallel. This actually applies a little bit for after go live, when you were running through the test cycles where you have to apply those three versions within a year. And you can see this red line which underlines that these are two different topics. The smoke tests are run independently from the actual regression, which has its cycles. The regression testing is purely planned, and it has some triages. It has some specific way how you handle the findings of the testing. The smoke test, on the other hand, when you think about placing that, it is good to give that tool to developers, to consultants. So developer, when he works and when she works on the specific functionality, they can make their own packages of the scripts. They can execute that within their development to verify the stability and the results of the actual development, which simply means this is the one solution for you, how you are able to improve the quality of development. The number of bugs will be drastically decreased if you're gonna make those sets of test cases for developer, so they can utilize that. And I'm going to show you some concept what actually you can do from a developer perspective in test automation in using executive automats and testing Dynamics Finance Operations. But if you're going to take a look on this timeline, it simply says that the smoke test, you are doing this always. Practically, whenever you do development, you could do smoke tests for whole system or sanity check for verification or more narrow area of the system, which checks if a specific place works perfectly. Of course, the definition of smoke test and sanity check, they are very close. But we can say that the sanity check is more narrow, more specific for your approach. Subsequently, on another slide, you will see who does the testing, who needs those smoke tests. And as we were discussing, developers, they can quickly check the development impact. So they write the code, they can run unit tests, they can run the smoke tests. They see the results, they make themselves bugs in the DevOps, they can pick them out, they can follow back and track their time spent on the testing. They can track the time needed for redevelopment, and they can retest the same package of the smoke test for verification of the results. Basic useful thing. Another value you get from test automation. Consultants, quick verification of the changes of the configuration. So whenever you're building new package of configuration for your application, and you would like to simply verify it doesn't have a specific aspect, a specific impact on the stability, on doability of the processes. You run smoke test and you verify if there are no unexpected error messages. And from the test manager perspective, this is something different, where we see test manager, when we see consultants and developers running that on demand, just like an element of their process. Test managers, very often they are just scheduling smoke tests through the cycle of the implementation or the sprint, and it is just automatically executed within a week time. And they have this pulse, they have this vision of the stability of number of bugs which are produced from the system. So for test managers, they see this more like a perspective of how you build, what is your health, what is your health status. So that's it from the test manager perspective. Lately, we are just visiting customers, performing on-site trainings, performing some customer satisfaction reviews, performing some analytics and the gatherings of the data for us to build for you the product, to build the application itself. And we are gathering nice ideas. Lately, being in Denmark, we've seen a very nice approach of delivering a golden process in smoke test. What does it mean? You can take a look on your company and try to find out what is the longest function, what is the longest test, end-to-end test, which understands that this is the longest process which goes continuously from different departments, and very often it takes months on sort of in the real world to be done. But we are trying to make the longest path to finalize, or simply to check the whole system, the whole perspective, from customer creation, or actually prospect creation, to customer creation, to sales quotation, from sales to master planning, procurement, production, reconciliation, credit collections, and some reportings. You can find out for every organization it is different, but you are trying to find out what is the longest possible process that you are handling. So then you are testing your whole vision, your whole system in the very wide scope. And this test, which we are mentioning, was recorded, and it is executed within your smoke test, which means weekly it is executed. So weekly you've got that health status on your finance and operations. Include the smoke test in the developer pipeline. This is something also interesting. So whenever you do build your application, you are able to simply add an element which invokes the testing, the smoke tests, into the pipeline, and then it goes and it can break the release if you're going to find too many error messages. This is something, the improvement of the stability, and I can show you in a moment when we're going to do the walkthrough where exactly it is held. And the smoke test use developers to do the API test. So it is very funny for us and very satisfying for us to see how users are using the application itself. And we've noticed that a lot of developers, they're actually not recording scripts, they are recording API tests. So the test case execution takes half an hour. You don't see any results on the screen. System is just invoking one by one API. So it is something which we can show you an example as well.
Yeah, guys. So I think now we will just jump into the executive automats walkthrough. And before that, guys, you can use the link which will be just visible in the chat section to sign up for your own demo session of executive automats, on which we can focus and will focus on key functionalities of the executive automats, also how you should perform and how you should approach your testing regression testing or testing methodology in terms of D365 implementation, and in one version also. Okay, cool. So let's dive into the executive automats. Yeah.
Indeed. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just start the screen sharing. So let me just.
Yeah, I will just wait a few seconds more, but it's not the issue. So.
Let's do that.
Cool.
Like this. Okay, so let me walk you through a few concepts and the way how we see the customers are building the smoke test in the finance and operations using the executive automats. Just to give you just a quick brief idea of executive automats, this is the test automation tool that we developed. It's been on the market for 10 years, including Exapta. 2009, we are actually heavily focused on Exapta and finance and operations, or finance and supply chain management. And our goal, what we want to deliver you, is a software which enables the less experienced users to do the test automation, to simply onboard this type of test automation within the days, not within a weeks or within a month. So you were able to very quickly simply have the tool on board and use it against your finance and operations. Aside of that, we've got multiple functionalities. We're going to not touch them today, but through the product onboarding, you've got that training session which walks you through everything. Also, as Rafael was mentioning, the demo can give you more broad perspective of what you're expecting or what you would like to see from test automation. From my perspective, I want to cover the smoke test, so we're gonna start the project section. On the top, you see a few functionalities of the system. Project is nothing else as kind of an aggregation level, as kind of a way how you are able to save your test cases, aggregate them, group them for better filtering, for better planning. So what I did actually, I've created for today's session two different plans. The one shows a smoke test for developers, and this simply means that you can define, of course, your approach as well. But in that example, we are defining all developers here so they can have their own sub projects. So whenever Gary or Peter they are creating test cases for themselves for their own smoke test packages, they can go here and they can build the test cases here. We've got also the general smoke tests where you gather all test cases that you execute against your environment day by day or on a weekly basis. And this, we can say, test suite has system and the Azure Active Directory account. So it simply means that you can define in here multiple systems, multiple accounts, which can then be used against your application stack. So on the other hand, you can understand Executive Automats as one centralized platform which helps you bring all environments, all users in one place. And these test cases, they can be easily redirected to be executed against your UAT, release, pre-prod, and multiple other environments. When it comes to the accounts itself, Azure Active Directory accounts, we are considering the possibility to switch from a lot of perspective, but two are very important. One is the security profiles. So we can build 10 or more Azure Active Directory accounts with different security roles, and it can run specific process against multiple specific security roles to verify the doability of the process for a different person. And of course, workflows. Workflows is something which you have to also test. So this is why we are switching to users. This is the list of all test cases. We see last execution status. Most of them succeeded. We've got some error messages. And we can always verify what exactly happened. We've got two of them, and the application is heavily integrated with DevOps. So in case I'm going to have some findings, I can go inside and I can see, all right, we've got some error message. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to export that to the actual DevOps. System shows me an error message and a warning, record was not found. So there is something for verification from me. I can create work item from that bug. So you can say you've got multiple test cases recorded for your organization. You've just executed 50 of them. You've got some error messages, so actually you've got some findings, and automatically convert those findings into the issue or bug type in Azure DevOps. So now I can apply my developer, or we can take Rafael. So Rafael, please take care of this small issue we've got. And Rafael can work on the results. Rafael can play back the test case, so he doesn't need to know or get the documentation. He can just start with operational stuff. So this is the quick triage, we can say. We recorded test cases, we run them, we verify the results when it comes to the error messages, if they see potential danger. If we are not able to accept the result, we are making a triage by creating the bugs, applying developer. Developer comes back to us and says, guys, it is fixed, or a consultant comes and it's fixed. I can retest. If the error will turn over to success, then we can give the green light to deployment. So deployment will happen on the UAT system, so the business user can finally verify the system, and then it goes to pre-prod and production for further usage. So these all test cases which were recorded, how we are planning the execution. I can go to the scheduler, I can create here a new entry, and I can call this my smoke test. I can make the execution sequential or in parallel. The parallel means not only we can run in background these executions, but it means that I can run number of sessions in parallel in background. So if you would like to get results quickly, let's say you've got 50 test cases and you would like to get those results in 15 minutes, you can run them on the parallel session and get them very quickly. Of course, we have to be aware that when you're going to reach high numbers, you're going to actually make a load test on the environment, so the results may be not adequate. If you're running on tier 1 environment of finance and operations, 30 sessions may cause you a downtime from our findings. So I've got my scheduler, and now I can tell the system, all right, so I want to filter all test cases from Auto-C, from our smoke testing. Of course, I can make additional filtering on the names if you're going to apply some naming convention. Then I can take them all and tell the system, all right, this is the list of the test cases. I can activate, wait for 4 p.m., 26 minutes, and system will execute all of these. So the planning functionality is very simple. It gives you you can sort of full planner. You're able to plan this every week, recurring. You can define that over weekend. So Monday morning, you can review the results. And if you're going to build one smoke test for your environment, as an example here, you will be able to make a progression. Actually, in the reporting stage, if you're going to build a proper report or you're going to use our example, you are able to find out the progression report on your smoke test. So let's say I've got 50 of my test cases, and for weekly execution of these test cases, we've got from 1 up to 6 error messages. We had some moment with 20. So this was probably a critical level of the stability on our application. But then we applied some back fixes and we turned it down. We turned it down from 18 to 4 and to 1. So this is probably a basic stability, and this is our expectation to be. So you are building the scheduler, you pick them here, and then you are able to observe their progression. From the test manager perspective or any stakeholder perspective, is a vital place where they can review, all right, this is the basic stability of our smoke tests or regression tests. We are good to go with the update. We are good to go with some corrections or deployment. Okay, so let's say this is something we wanted to cover from the smoke test perspective. Of course, the topic is very deep, but for today, just want to cover some feeling of that. Just want to give you some tips, some tricks, some ideas which you can leverage against your environment. Not only using Executive Automate, but any other tool, kind of at the same approaches can be done. So I was mentioning the easiness of creation of the test cases. So let's create one. So let's create a test case which will perform, let's say, AR sales order creation on our environment and on our user. So I can click create, start, and record. On the right hand side, we've got a panel which identifies all actions. We're going to see here the list of every operation you're going to perform by starting with selecting the main modules, selection of customers, product lines, confirming the sales, going through packing slips, invoicing, and payment. This is something which can be seen on the right hand side, and then we can simply save this and execute that. So starting in, as mentioned, in sales, every selection of yours when it comes to types, like customer selection, can be editable, which means you can identify these test cases as a kind of a template. And the template has input parameters. Input parameters is simply every different customer. So if I'm going to select US 04, I can change that here, or I can change that on the right hand side on the advanced recorder. This gives me advantage of using an Excel files as a data source for the process. So I can have in my Excel file multiple lines, multiple rows of customers. And any moment we rerun this test case, we can take one line or we can make a loop. So system can repeat the same process 10 times. And the repetitions are not only for data randomization, but if we're going to record this very simple process of sales creation, and we have, an example, 5 entities, we can define Excel file with 5 lines, each line for a different entity, and then system gives you a golden process, which can be understood also as the process which is shared throughout your whole company or the whole organization, because every company has the same process but different data. So to save time on the recreation of test cases, you can use that approach. After defining the lines, we can jump into the sales tab to confirm the sales. After confirming, we'll be able to work a little bit more with the test case. From perspective of the reusability of the test cases, we wanted to give you multiple functions. Not only those Excel files, but also optional steps, also possibility to connect to all data, REST APIs, possibility to set up here a number sequences. So for fields like product receipts, invoice ID, and so on, serial numbers, you can use those. You can use those number series, which can be applied for every step. And this means that if the process expects from you unique entry, you can apply the number sequence, which increments with every use one by one. So you can run your process 100 times, and within those 100 times, you are simply always unique, so you can create 100 customers. We've got some error message, probably going for some information about the credit collection or credit limit. We can verify that in a second. So we can make not only positive test case, but also the negative test cases. In here, if you're gonna take a look on the player now, you can play back quickly the process to check the consistency. System plays back one by one, step by step, our recording. And we're gonna see on the right-hand side statuses, which are giving the understanding if the process succeeded, if the steps succeeded, or we got some error messages or warnings. Every communication from the system is cached, so you can purely convert these communications to bugs into the system. So later on, you can benefit from actual reuse of those test cases. And by the way, if you're going to have any questions of what we see here, or some follow-up questions to extend the session in a specific area, feel free to write it down in chat, so we can simply make for you some additional changes and additional explanations, and then we are able to continue. Okay, I see that the item which we saved, it probably was the result or the reason why this script was posted. So D006 can be quickly converted or changed. So we used D006. In case that we would like to change that to D04, I can come back to the recorder. I can change this to edit mode and modify the entry data. Then save, player, and playback. So the operational stuff of the process, of your selections, of your decisions, and then adjusting those to make sure that your test cases that you created is fully flexible and it is fully user-friendly. So you are spending the less possible amount of time on testing is one of the key focus of ours. We want to make sure that there will be no need from your side for working with test cases only when system changes drastically. There will be a need from your side to interact and modify the test case. In the meantime, when system goes through, I can show you the pipeline. So in the pipelines, if you're going to build one, you are able to embed a test automation injection. So there is a specific attachment you can deploy, and this attachment, if it's going to be in the pipeline, it can simply invoke the execution of certain test cases, and then it can break or let you deploy the code on the desired system. So this is an extension of Produced. We've got also integration of test plan. We've got also integration, as you saw before, with work items. So these elements are quite interesting, and they are very effective when it comes to performing triage, performing regression testing with bigger number of users. Okay, we see also that system is already running our smoke test. So if you're going to go here, we see that we've got already 47 successes. We've got 3 error messages from the execution. So again, I can overview what exactly happened, and I can create quickly bugs, or I can verify on the screenshots why system failed. In that case, there was no records for purchasing, so system was not able to continue with the process itself. So every script you're going to execute, it has the possibility to be converted into the actual documentation, and then the documentation can be understood as the proof of testing, or you can simply use the screenshots from documentation for developers to understand the context of the business process or the context of the error message which happened. Yeah, these test cases, lastly, if you're going to think about them, you can think about them as pixels. Each of those, they can build a big picture of testing. What do we mean by that? If you're going to create a test case for how to see end-to-end flow, you don't need to actually create the test case. You can reuse something which exists. So I can tell the system to embed in here multiple test cases, and I can simply have 4 test cases, and they can be executed one by one. They can intercharge the data, so you can have end-to-end flow. All of these, they are sort of an element, a pixel, and they can actually be embedded in multiple test cases. So whenever you do a change to one, it can be deployed everywhere in just a second. You can also clone and copy the steps from one test case to another one. So this is an option for reusability once again. And also in the test cases, as I was mentioning, aside of the using the system, you can simply write the code which is going to be executed against the environment. So you can use OData, you can use API request, HTTPS request. So the test case can be testing your whole stack of the integrations from the system. This and much, much more, we would like to invite you for browsing the tool on the trial, where you can actually get the access for application itself, apply your environment. There is nothing to install on your Dynamics, actually, and you can, for a certain moment, verify how it works for finance and operations. So thank you so much for the walkthrough. We can actually come back quickly to the Q&A to help you.
Yeah, we can come back to here to question and answer session. I see that we have like a few questions already. So I will show them immediately. This is the first one. Can we plan the execution for the certain moment of the week? Run headless repeat and overview the result. Yes, we can. To the functionality of the executive automats called scheduler. But Bart, you can maybe want to say more about that. Oh, you are muted, and you are unmuted right now.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So this is number of practice we do. This is something called progression, which we also deliver. So to build the progression report, you build one specific plan and rerun this repeatedly for a certain time. So then you can review the results and verify how the system works on the time as we were walking through the Power BI report. So yes, that's possible.
Okay, thank you, Bart. The second question: is there anything to install in the Dynamics 365 FO itself, or this application is hosted as the separate service? So, well, the executive automats can be installed on-prem as on private cloud, but most likely our clients which are using the cloud basis of Dynamics 365 environment, they are buying from us the software as a service model of delivery. So basically, you are receiving the URL address of our tool, and which is only for you, and you can log in into the tool with your first credentials, and after that you are changing the initial passwords, etc., etc. So yeah, there are both installation possibilities here, but this is not the deployment package for Dynamics environment. No, this is not like something which you need to install itself to the Dynamics environment. This is something separate.
Exactly. The only thing which we are planning in the future, it might be we're going to have an extension for optional customers, but we don't want to do that now, as this is just complication. We want to be very neutral for instance. That's why we are rather hosted as a separate service.
The third question from Natashka: is your tool available on AppSource? Yes, it is. Yes, it's available on AppSource. So you can,
like as offer, not like a physical tool you can download.
not like a physical. Yeah, you can, because in terms of what the particular option you will choose, there's a little difference between the tool itself, because we have like regular enterprise licensing, etc., etc. But if you want to know more, feel free to jump into our website and book a call with me, and I will be more than happy to give you more details about how the prices look like of the executive automats and how we can help you with your test automation journey. I think there is another one. Yes, can I build a number of Azure Active Directory accounts with different security roles and use them in tests?
Yeah, I think we've covered that
Yes.
over the session. Yes, that's possible. If you would like to see more, we can show you over the trial these different roles, and actually, these test cases we created, they can be converted into the actual role itself. That's
Yeah.
another extensions we've got.
One of our tool can handle such approach. So guys, use the link which is visible in the chat in terms of booking the demo session or trial. And also, if you want to know more and gather more knowledge about the tool itself and how the price of the tool is look like, and how we can help you in terms of that smoke test, automated testing, regression testing, etc., feel free to reach us out. You can reach to me and my colleague Preston. And yeah, I think for now, I'll just check again if we don't have any more questions. Yeah, there is no of them. So yeah, guys, many thanks for the session. Thank you, Bart. And yeah, feel free to reach us out about our tool. Thank you. Have a great evening ahead and see you next time. Cheers. Bye.